Hey everyone, welcome back. In this video, I'm going to walk you through how DNS resolution actually works inside Kubernetes. Most engineers assume it's just standard DNS, but inside a cluster, it's a multi-layered dance between pods, nodes, and core DNS. If you have ever seen a service resolution fail intermittently, you know the stakes. Getting this wrong leads to cascading service timeouts and impossible to track production outages. Let us dive into the internal mechanics of cluster networking. We are going to strip away the abstractions to see exactly what happens when you type a service name. In this video, we will cover the local configuration within your containers, the internal architecture of CoreDNS, the role of stub domains, and how to debug real-world resolution failures. Watch the full video without skipping any content to understand it better. Before we get into the topic, a small request to you. I have already uploaded many technical videos on different technologies and tools. We share more knowledgeable content every day. So if you are interested in learning and want to improve your skills, make sure you have subscribed to our channel and joined our WhatsApp community. The join link is available in the description or scan the QR code shown on the screen. Let us get started. So why does DNS fail in Kubernetes? In a traditional data center, your DNS records are usually static. But in Kubernetes, pods are temporary and services are virtual constructs that exist only in memory. When a pod restarts, its IP changes. If your system couldn't map a constant service name to a shifting backend IP in milliseconds, your microservices would lose connectivity instantly. This is the exact problem that makes cluster-aware DNS the heartbeat of your infrastructure. What is Kubernetes DNS exactly? It is a service that assigns a unique name to every single service object in your cluster. By default, this is implemented using CoreDNS. Think of CoreDNS like a highly specialized phone book for your cluster. Instead of a static list, it constantly queries the Kubernetes API to keep its index updated. When your pod asks for payments API, CoreDNS looks up the current virtual IP associated with that service and sends it back. So, how does CoreDNS work internally? It uses a clever plugin-based architecture. When a DNS request hits a CoreDNS pod, the request travels through a series of plugins. First, it hits the Kubernetes plugin, which checks if the name belongs to a cluster service. If it finds a match, it returns the record immediately. If it doesn't find a match, it passes the request down the chain to the forward plugin. This plugin then sends the request out to an upstream resolver like your cloud provider's DNS or a public server. To understand how a pod knows where to send DNS queries, we look at its configuration file. Run this command to inspect the file inside your container. You should see output similar to this. The name server IP is your core DNS service IP. The search paths allow for short name resolution, and the ndot setting determines how many dots must be present before a name is treated as an absolute domain. Now, why does the ndot setting matter so much? This is a frequent performance bottleneck. By default, Kubernetes sets ndots to 5. This means if you query for google.com, which only has one dot, the system treats it as relative. It will append all those search paths we just saw one by one and send them to CoreDNS as separate queries. This creates unnecessary traffic and latency for every external request your pod makes. If you need to troubleshoot how CoreDNS is configured, you can inspect the Core file stored in a config map. This shows you exactly which plugins are enabled. This configuration tells CoreDNS to handle the cluster domain internally and forward everything else to the host's DNS settings. If you see errors here, your cluster resolution is likely broken for everyone. This error happens when the CoreDNS pods are crashing or the networking layer cannot route traffic to the CoreDNS service IP. It means your pod is literally shouting into the void. The most common fix is a simple rollout restart of the core DNS deployment. If that fails, check the logs for specific plugin errors using the logs command. Let me give you a real-world scenario. An online streaming platform serving 5 million concurrent viewers once faced 30-second latency spikes in their API. Their engineers were baffled. After deep analysis, they realized the high volume of external requests combined with the default ndots configuration was causing CoreDNS to be overwhelmed. It was processing thousands of failed internal search queries every single second. By tuning their ndots configuration to use fully qualified domain names, they reduced DNS latency by 80%. So when should you change your approach? First, use NodeLocal DNSCache if your cluster exceeds 500 nodes. It offloads the work to each node. Second, do not rely on default DNS settings if your application makes high-frequency requests to external APIs. Third, use fully qualified domain names in your code to avoid the ndots search path penalty. Finally, do not change CoreDNS plugins unless you have a deep understanding of DNS protocols. This is very important. Use these criteria to decide if this tool is right for your situation. To wrap up, remember that CoreDNS is the backbone of service discovery. The ndots configuration causes recursive search lookups that can really kill performance. Always check the Corefile config map if your internal services cannot resolve names. NodeLocal DNSCache is the standard solution for scaling DNS beyond small clusters. And finally, fully qualified domain names are the best way to ensure consistent network resolution. Now you have a much deeper understanding of how the cluster network actually functions. I believe this video will definitely be a useful video. If you like the video, please do like and hype the video. Also share it with your friends and groups. It may be useful to somebody else. If you have any doubts or any requests, please let me know in the comments. Make sure you have subscribed to stay updated for our regular videos. Join our WhatsApp community using the link in the description because we share more knowledgeable content every day. Thank you for watching. See you soon in the next video.